Over the past few years, we've heard nothing but how great the AI revolution will be, about how many jobs it will create, about the innovation that it will bring, the productivity and how that will make goods and services cheaper than we have ever seen before. But there is a group in particular that will be harmed most, that hasn't been discussed enough, and that often gets left behind when these revolutions occur. When business leaders and politicians talk about increases in productivity, they conveniently forget to mention who gains the benefits of that productivity. Sure, in some cases it's the consumer because prices can be sometimes lowered if they feel like it, but often cases it's the people who own those organizations, not the workers who increase their productivity. In a fair market, if workers got twice as productive, they could equally choose to just produce twice as many things, earning twice the amount of money, or take half of those day offs while still earning the same amount because they got twice as productive. But as you know, in real life, that has never happened unless you're in an economy which actually gives workers a voice. Corporate profits have grown ever higher and higher, inequality growing further and further apart, while people are worse and worse off, even though you'd think with the advancements we've seen since the war that would be in a much better place. Additionally, now with the growth of these data centers, which need huge amounts of electricity to operate, a lot of them are expecting governments to build that infrastructure for them. So it's been fun to see when governments are like, nope, you're paying for 10 years of usage up front because we're not going to cover this for you to only leave in 2 years' time because you've got a better tax break somewhere else. Additionally, this mass increase in the consumption of energy will exacerbate the climate crisis, which is already one of the pinnacle mechanisms for, the separation and wealth inequality. Just want to jump in here to say that if you'd like to check out my Instagram where I discuss more of this sort of thing and you can keep a day-to-day update on what I'm doing and what it's like to build this channel, perfect for you right there. Right, onto the rest of the video. More energy requires more mining of fossil fuel resources, even if it's renewables, it still requires to mine resources to produce those. And as a result, a further contribution to the destruction of the environment, to the usage of effectively slave labor in a lot of these cases in the developing world, and production of CO2, which then worsens the climate, makes hot places hotter, cold places colder, and natural disasters more common, which is already expected to displace hundreds of millions of people. But of course, if you have money, you can buy a nice penthouse in the safest area in the world. So much for our LED lights and bamboo straws if this is going to be the future. But I don't want to be a complete Debbie Downer here, right? There's going to be huge openings in new industries that we didn't think were possible, that young people can train for and gain employment, and once again, jobs we didn't know existed before. But in doing so, we are going to lose huge amounts of jobs in industries that have existed for decades or centuries. And these people, no matter how much we're told they can retrain into software, which is now a useless industry, what are they going to do? Think how back in the day when we were kids, everyone was telling us that we would have to learn software because that is going to be the future. And now some of the biggest layoffs across the Western world are software developers because so much of their job is now automatable. The only people you really need are the decision makers, the taste makers, and the people who can piece all those pieces together. The free hand of market capitalism has no empathy for humans. The nice, clean economist way of thinking about it is that the industry will rearrange, people will find new jobs, there'll be new jobs that are created, and it will all work out. Forgetting about all of the people that are left behind. And guess who has to support those people? Yeah, everyone else. Because of course, if you can't find a job, people go on welfare, they need benefits, and we're all worse off because of it. But it doesn't mean that things shouldn't change, that we shouldn't move to technological revolution. No, of course not. But we need to take more careful consideration into what are the downstream effects of this development and who's actually wielding the benefit of these improvements. It's not the working class, it's not the people that produce these improvements, it is purely the business owners at the top. And this doesn't even start to go into the effects of biased training data that can create discriminatory results and selections without anyone even realizing, because you don't know what it's doing on the back end and you didn't even realize that you had put dodgy data into the system in the first place, especially in such an environment where they're looking for any data possible because they have literally run out on the planet. Because discrimination is the worst when people don't even know what's happening in the first place. Because if you don't know what's happening, you don't even think that you need to do anything about it in the first place. So should we be scared? Probably not, because, our lives have gotten easier. Imagine if you were trying to go through school nowadays with GPT. But there are definitely things that we should be wary of and not believe when we just hear it on the news and from the people who stand to benefit the most, and realize that with every action, there is an opposite and equal reaction in the other way. That for someone to benefit huge amounts at the top and bring in huge rewards for shareholders, that there are people who that money is being taken away from in the production pipeline. And that just because people are unemployed, it's not as easy as it is for a young person to retrain into a different industry. So keep some of those things in mind over the coming years as we learn more about this industry as it continues to develop and we learn what the potential is with all of these systems that we have developed. If you would like to hear more from me, I've got a perfect playlist for you right here where I discuss so much more. Check it out.